we need to talk about Saltburn, a film of desire, of the desperation one will go through when they want what they cannot have. A twisted, voyeuristic look into the inner workings of the 1%. A comment on the fragility of relationships and of the primal desire to fit in. From the eyes of a little fucking weirdo. I'm going to promise that I'm going to leave the microphone at a safe distance. Will I break that promise? Probably. What is up, party people? It's 3 a.m. I've done this intro like 4 times. Bear with me. My name's Dev. You're in my room. Let's hang out. Now, listen, we have a lot to go over today. The question on everyone's mind is, what is Saltburn? That's what I was thinking too. All I knew going into this movie was I'd heard a lot about it on Twitter. There was this bathroom scene. And I knew that my sunshine, the love of my life, Jacob Elordi, the Euphoria man, he's in it. And this weird little freak. So I had to figure out what the fuck is Saltburn and what are they doing there? Who is Saltburn? Like I said, we have a lot to go over. Strap in, grab a snack. This is going to take a while. What we're going to do is we're going to just go through the events of Saltburn. What happens? What is this movie? I'm going to tell you. And then we're going to kind of recap at the end. I'm going to give my thoughts, and then we're going to part ways. Will we ever see each other again? You tell me. Let me just say the girlies are raving about this movie, and let me preface this entire thing by saying the only reason I'm making this video is, first of all, I filmed this entire video last week. Filmed, edited, took me 14 hours to completion. Was ready to do something with it. I deleted the whole thing. I hated it. So here we are. Part 2. Take 2. Whatever. I had seen the movie one time. Went in blind. Didn't know what to expect. It was not what I expected. And I walked away from my first viewing kind of hating the movie. It left me wanting more. And I feel like a lot of the themes it was looking to do, a lot of the conversations it was trying to have didn't fully connect with me, at least. I also am a contrarian. And because people like it, I like to hate it. So I walked away saying, oh, I hate this movie. And that was what my first video was about. And then I watched the movie again. And I'll leave it at that. So without further ado, let's talk about Saltburn. The film opens on our main character, Oliver Quick. He is talking to the camera, or someone in the room, or us, saying, I wasn't in love with him. Everyone thought I was. He goes on to say, while an artsy Lana Del Rey-esque music video montage sequence of Jacob Elordi, beautiful man, who plays Felix, plays in the background, that he loved him. But was he in love with him? He takes a breath and we officially meet Oliver in the year of our Lord, 2006. Good year. Hannah Montana premiered on Disney Channel that year. So, changed my life. He has just started college at Oxford University. And can I just say, he looks crazy. I don't know what they were going for. If they were going for... I'm speechless. Absolutely speechless. Why does he look like that? He moves into his dorm and he looks out the window, yearning. Typical. Typical Oliver. Always yearning. And he catches the gaze of a beautiful man. Felix. Anyways, Oliver is awkward and shy and weird, frankly. So he gets scared and he, definition, shrinks away. This is the first time that the two of them even see each other, but you know that there's a little bit of something going on. We later see Oliver in the cafeteria where he befriends this stereotypical nerdy kid. His name's Michael. And he doesn't like math, but he's good at it. Ask him a sum. Come on, ask him a sum.
Ask me a sum then.
Oliver absolutely comes off as a meek, little, people pleasery type of person. So when he meets Farley, an American, in his tutoring session, they hit it off just fine. And I hope you can tell I'm being sarcastic. As the year kind of progresses, Oliver struggles fitting in because, like I said, he's just a scholarship boy, and a lot of these people wouldn't be caught dead in his vicinity. To a point where he doesn't get invited to the Christmas party, which, can I just say, has the absolute Christmas song I've ever heard. I didn't know the British got down like that. That goes hard. This, though, is where things start to change. Just a little bit. So one day, Oliver is riding his bike, going to class, doing something nerdy probably, and he runs into Felix, who is sitting underneath a tree with a flat tire on his bike. And it is so me coded. He's like a damsel in distress. He literally isn't doing anything to help himself. He's just sitting there, spinning the wheel, just waiting for someone to help him. And I can't even be mad. That's me. That's so me, dude. Like, too cute to be doing any sort of manual labor. Oliver has no boundaries, at least to me. So, of course, he wants to please everybody. So he offers Felix to take his bike. Oliver, he's something about he's just going to the library. He has nowhere else to go. Felix is late to class. So Oliver wants to be recognized, I think. He wants to please. So he's like, hey, take my bike. And Felix is so down with this. Felix admits that he doesn't even know who Oliver is after Oliver says that they're in the same college. But Felix is a nice dude. So so he is so grateful. Like literally to a point he's like grabbing Oliver by the head, kissing his bike helmet, like, Oliver, I love you, Ollie. I love you. Literally, that's what he does. And this is the start of something questionably beautiful. The beginning of the end. 10 minutes into the movie. One night at the bar, Oliver is there with Michael, the nerdy kid, and he's not interested. He doesn't want to be friends with Michael, but he is kind of cornered, pigeonholed into being friends with somebody. Poor thing, Michael. I don't have much sympathy for kind of anyone in the movie except for him. So Oliver's out with him. He doesn't want to be there. He goes to the bar to get Michael a drink, and he sees Felix, who's sitting with his friends, and Felix calls him over. Oliver ditches Michael. Again, poor thing. And he sits down with Felix, and they have a drink. And Felix's friends are all the rich, uppity, old money, generational wealth type of people. So, sorry, I'm getting excited. I gotta get back in frame. So Felix's friends are being a little bit condescending to Oliver, but Oliver doesn't pay much attention because Felix is giving him attention, and that's what matters. So a drink turns into shots, and then Farley, who we met earlier, Farley's that American kid, Farley's there, and he pressures Oliver into buying a round of shots, knowing that Oliver has no money. Farley, I think, wants to assert dominance in a way. So he's like, okay, well, you gotta buy the shots because you can't be taking shots with us if you're not gonna buy a round. It's your turn. Oliver can't get out of it, so he goes to the bar. He's talking to the bartender, and he's like, can I pay you tomorrow? I don't have any money. He has no money. And so he's like, can you please, like, this is so embarrassing. Like, can you please just let me figure out a way to pay you? I'll pay you tomorrow. Can you just please let me have these shots so I don't go back there and look like an ass? And the bartender's like, no, sorry, dude. Tough luck. Felix, being a good man, this melted my heart. Felix is a good man. Felix goes up to the bar. He's got money in between his fingies, and he's like, "Hey, you drop this on the floor." The amount of times I'm gonna do a terrible British accent is probably gonna be too many times to count. Deal with it. It's a British film. Felix gives Oliver some money, but he does it in a way to not embarrass him, to not emasculate him. He gives him the money. He's like, "Hey, you drop this on the floor," and Oliver's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And then Oliver, after he clocks it and he realizes what's happening, he's like, "Thank you." And Felix is like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So cute. So cute. It's so cute. So this is kind of the concrete start of their friendship. The bike scene was the official start, but this is where it's kind of concreted into the plot that Felix likes Oliver. And Oliver just loves Felix. So then ensues this relationship between the two, evolving into some sort of pseudo homoerotic, blurred line of platonic and romantic relationship montage in the film as the months go on. And dare I say, it's kind of cute. Felix at one point lets us know that Farley, that guy, the American guy, is his cousin. And it's this whole thing. It's so convoluted. But Felix's mom is of the same family as Felix. They come from money, right? Like Felix has like loads of money. And Farley is from that family. On his mom's side, his mom ran off to America with a dude, blew through all their money to the point of getting cut off. So Felix's dad feels guilty. So Felix's dad pays for Farley's education. Farley's gotten kicked out of like every school in the UK, in England, whatever, because
Sucking off the teachers. How about you?
I've not sucked any teachers off.
Not yet, you haven't.
anyways. Speaking of exposition, Oliver confides in Felix that he's an only child and his family, his mom and dad, struggle with some sort of mental health issues, addiction, something of the sort. So he doesn't see them. And this explains a lot in a way. Oliver, by going off to school, by going to Oxford, a nice school, he's getting out. He got away. He's doing something more. Felix is a good friend. He listens to him genuinely and he understands. He can't relate, but he gets where Oliver's coming from. And Felix is just a good person, seems like. There was this one point where this girl was talking down on Oliver, saying he's weird, he's just a scholarship boy, basically he's poor, I want nothing to do with him. And Felix is like, okay, well, that's mean. Like, you're so stuck up. So that was cute. But then something interesting happens in the library. Oliver runs into Michael, and Michael's basically just like, oh, you look different. You don't look 45 anymore. Basically, you've been hanging out with Felix and you've changed, but he'll get bored of you. And this is something that gets touched on a couple of times in the movie. My full thoughts are going to be later on, but this basically just gets touched on, but nothing really happens with it. And I don't know if I'm bearing the lead or jumping the gun, whatever the phrase would be, but this is where I'm like, oh, interesting. What's going to happen here? This kind of freaks Oliver out, in my opinion. It kind of scares him, like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean my best friend's going to get bored of me? Like, is this a recurring thing? And this almost leads into this obsession with Felix, which eventually leads to a small argument between them. Nothing big, but a small rift begins to form just a little bit. So one morning, Oliver gets a call from his mom. We don't hear the phone call, but immediately he runs to Felix. And he tells Felix that his dad passed away. I think his exact words were, knocked his head on the pavement, drunk or something. Oliver just can't catch a break. Am I right? one thing after another with him. Poor thing. Felix, genuinely caring, is like, oh, you have to deal with that. Exams are coming up. Don't worry about it. Skip exams. Like, take care of your stuff. Go home. Do whatever you need to do. Oliver vehemently denies that. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not skipping exams. This is all I have. So he doesn't. He doesn't skip exams. He finishes out the school year. When I watched this the first time, I thought this was like graduation. So I thought this was like 3 years later. And I haven't Googled it or anything. So I don't know for sure. It may very well be graduation. It looks like it. They have this whole celebration. And maybe this is just what rich people schools do. We're just at the end of the year. It looks like graduation. But this is where it's shown that Oliver, over time, has become more confident in himself. Hanging out with Felix, he feels more in place. He feels less out of place at Oxford. And to the point where Farley sees him at graduation or whatever, and he says that he's almost passing for a real boy, which is interesting. Later on this day, Felix and Oliver are hanging out. Felix takes Oliver to this little bridge over the river, and he gives Oliver this stone with Dad written on it. And Felix explains that in his family, when somebody dies, they write their name on a stone and they throw it into the river. And it might help. Also super cute. Felix says that he's only ever done it for some dead dogs. He's never had to do it for anything else, but he still tries. So Oliver, they take a moment. Oliver throws the stone into the river, but he misses, and it lands off to the side in this pile of vomit with like this liquor bottle, which is just very fitting. After this, they talk about their summer plans, and Felix is basically just kind of scoping out, like, are you going to go home? Kind of, what's your vibe? What are you going to do? And Oliver's like, nope, can't go home. So much trauma. I can't go home. So Felix is like, oh, okay, I get it. So this is where Felix invites Oliver to come stay the summer at his family's estate, Saltburn. Oh, I'm sorry, Saltburn. Oliver arrives with his little roller suitcase from the Primark or whatever, and he is immediately out of his element. Saltburn is this huge, massive estate. It's like Buckingham Palace. Real talk. It's crazy. So he meets the butler and he takes him in, and then Felix sees him. So Felix takes him on a tour through these winding halls. They have all these different rooms, a bunch of lore sprinkled in. Felix almost fingered his cousin right there. Dead relies, dead relies, dead relies. And then it's revealed. Well, not like it was a secret, but it's revealed to Oliver that he and Felix are going to share a bathroom. The bathroom is in between the two bedrooms, so if Oliver were to use any other bathroom, it's miles away at the other end of the estate. So it's just more convenient for them to share a bathroom. Now, if you are anything like me and have heard anything about this movie prior to this right here or your own viewing, you would know that there's a bathroom scene. Me, knowing that, watching this film, I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen in the bathroom? I hate this fucking movie. It just feels a little too convenient. I know that, like, genuinely it is convenient for the characters, but it feels a little too convenient for the plot. It feels a little bit fanficky. It feels a little Wattpad. Does it not? We then, once everything kind of settles down and we stop reeling from the potential bathroom scene, we meet Felix's family, which this is where I lost the plot. I will be honest. I was expecting British Brokeback Mountain, baby. And then when I was like, oh, he's going to Saltburn, I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. It's going to be just them. It's going to be a whole summer of a roller coaster romance. Will they kiss? Will they not? Will they love each other? Will they not? That is not what happens. Looking back, I should have guessed because, like, duh, his family is there. It's summer. The first time I watched this movie, this is where I started to get a little irritated because it was not going my way and I didn't want it to go this way. The second time I watched it, it makes a lot more fucking sense. So listen, we meet Felix's family because they're all there. And we meet Felix's dad, Sir James. We meet his mom, Elspeth. We meet his sister, Venetia. Farley's there as well because, like I said, Farley is Felix's cousin. Convoluted. Farley lives at Saltburn. We also meet Pamela, who I love. She's so eccentric, so fun. She absolutely would do like a seance with you. She is Elspeth's friend who is just staying at Saltburn for the time being until she gets on her feet, which doesn't make sense to me because she does say that she's with a Russian billionaire. So to me, she's got money, but she's hiding out from him. This is a little bit of a recurring theme. We're going to find out that Elspeth has a little bit of what I like to call a charity kink, and Pamela is there as just a charity case to make Elspeth feel better about herself, I think. So that night, Oliver, again, yearning, staring out the window, he sees Venetia standing outside by herself and, being a little freak, goes outside to check to see that she's not sleepwalking. She just says that she's sitting out under the moon because it's almost full.
Do you know what that means?
No?
We're all about to lose our minds.
She then decides to mess with Oliver, I think. She looks at him all weird, and she says that she knows why Felix likes him because he's just so real. She also says that she likes Oliver better than the last year's one, which again touches on this theme of Oliver being this toy almost to Felix, and that he's being invited to Saltburn almost like a yearly rite of passage or something. It's strange. Girl, it's 10:30 at night. My cat's being absolutely fucking crazy. Where were we? At breakfast the next morning, it's becoming very apparent that Oliver is so out of place. This, to me, is where the cracks begin to show in Oliver because he doesn't know how to do breakfast. Which, to be fair, I wouldn't either. Apparently, you order the eggs from the butler and then all the rest of the food's on the side, so you get your own. Oliver doesn't understand that that's the way it works. Farley makes fun of him. This, to me, is where it starts to become apparent that Oliver is starting to feel the pressure of the growing disparity between his normal life, the life of the normal person, the life that he's used to, and the life that he's living now, staying at Saltburn, which is this idyllic, opulent life of the rich. I do also have to point out in this scene, this is crazy. And I haven't seen anyone talk about this. So they're going over talking about poets or something at breakfast. And Venetia's telling this story of this one poet who was rumored to have a doppelganger, and his maid was cleaning his house or something and he wasn't home. The maid saw him walking around as she's saying this. Right behind her outside the window, Felix is walking by. But Felix is right next to her. Anyways, after this, the kids fall into this typical rich kid artsy summer, accompanied by this montage of them laying by the water, playing tennis in tuxedos, drinking, the huge. All the while, Oliver is being a little kiss ass, to be frank, and poking around Saltburn trying to study up because he wants to earn favor from everyone, but seems like he wants to earn favor from Felix's parents. I'm going to bring it in real close for a minute. I don't know how to segue into this. All I'm going to say is strap in. Do you know how I warned you about the bathroom scene? Well, I don't know what type of content warning we need for this, but we need a couple content warnings. One night, Oliver hears Felix in the bathroom, so he goes to look through the door, innocently at first, and then he continues watching because Felix is pleasuring himself, to put it simply, in the bathtub. Oliver, in his weird little ass, just keeps watching. He watches him finish. Felix then says goodnight because at this point, Oliver had gone into the bathroom. Felix is done in the bath, clearly. He's letting the water drain. And so Oliver's left to his own devices in the bathroom. While the water is draining, Oliver goes into the bathtub. Literally face in the tub. He starts to slurp. Sorry. He starts to slurp up the fucking water. He's dead ass drinking Jacob Elordi's bathwater with his man essence. Not only that, that's bad enough. Not only that, but Oliver then proceeds to eat out the drain, the rusty 500-year-old bathtub drain, just tongues it to get every last drop of his best friend's bath water. Now that we've recovered, barely, I don't know what this says about me. I really don't. I've seen worse. That didn't really get me. I will be honest. It was shocking. But, girl, Oliver is a little fucking freak. That is weird, Oliver. That is nuts. I need a break. Let's go have a kiki. Let's go have a kiki with Elspeth. Come on. Wait. Oliver's here. Oh my god. Okay. Fine. Here in this scene, this little kiki that she's having with Oliver, which is bizarre and weirdly out of place after what the just happened, but she's dinking around with Oliver talking shit, right? She's absolutely flaming Venetia for no reason, saying that she is sexually incontinent, which I don't know what that means. Do I want to Google it? No. And that she has an eating disorder. Mother of the year. She also decides at this time to let us know that Pamela's no longer at Saltburn. Flames her too, calling her the wettest of wet blankets. And that's her best friend. Oliver then thinks it's okay to hit on her, but also at the same time manipulates her into thinking that Pamela's woes and Pamela's story is a lie and that she's doing it for attention. All of this, to me at least, is unwarranted. What do you mean, Oliver? This isn't even your house. It's not Love Island. Why are we causing drama? I will say, I kind of love him for it. I kind of love he's in there, he's stirring the pot. So let the man cook. We'll get back to him later. Let's get back to him right now because so after all this, Oliver has all of this fresh Venetia gas just stewing in his brain, right? So one night soon after, he runs into Venetia in the garden again because he's at this point, I just think he is just staring out the window and waiting for something to happen, someone to talk to, someone to manipulate. So he sees Venetia outside in the garden and he comes up to her all weird and like dominant, which threw me off because Oliver absolutely looks real subby. So he like stands over her all weird, like 50 Shades of Grey, and he tells her because he knows that she has this ED, he knows that she's sexually incontinent, but he wants to toy with her. So he starts playing into her ED. Ultimately, though, he tells her that she needs to take care of herself, which is probably the one good thing he's ever said. But he means it in a way of she's going to listen to him. According to him, because he's the master all of a sudden, she is to eat all of her food and stay at the table because he said so. And then he touches her and she's on her period, which is supposed to be like this whole like but girl, clearly this is not a straight man talking to you right now. So this is the absolute least of my worries. But like, is that a problem? Am I supposed to care? Also, I'm sounding a lot like Oliver because he does not, he don't care. He calls himself a vampire. And then he goes down on her to prove it, I guess. This man. It's always the man, right? It's always a weird little man that has to be weird. To me, again, this is where the facade begins to slip a little bit. Because who is this? Who is this man? This is not the same Oliver from 20 minutes ago. This is not poor little subby Oliver, hurt little poor bird. Who is this man? He's weird and scary. So, unbeknownst to Christian Grey, Farley sees this entire thing unfold from his window. Because if Oliver's looking out his window, somebody else is going to be looking out the window, baby. Oliver maybe doesn't care, but he also doesn't know. So Farley sees this whole thing, and he says something to the effect of, like, stupid little boy, because now Oliver's over party. Oliver's done, canceled. He's got his ticket out. Now, after we have just seen this sneak peek from the new Twilight movie, the next morning at breakfast, Oliver is, again, being weird. This, I think, is when his weirdness begins to just be a constant. And he is pushing food at Venetia to make her eat it. Everybody kind of clocks it, but no one says anything because everyone's a little bit too wrapped up in talking about Oliver's birthday coming up. Can't wait for that. Elspeth has this brilliant idea to have a birthday party for Oliver, her honorary son. She says that it would be a good idea to invite about 100 or 200 people, all of his friends. Farley makes a good comment and says, "What friends?" Because all of Oliver's friends are in that room. Oliver, though, thinks this is a great idea because he just wants to please. He wants to please everybody. He can't say no to Elspeth. So that's that. They're going to have a birthday party for Oliver. So after this, Oliver goes out to the garden to hang out with Felix, and he immediately just comes over and, like, takes his shirt off to, like, go sunning or something. I don't know. Dude shit, probably. And Oliver's like, "Hey, are you annoyed?" And Felix is like, "No, I'm not annoyed at anything." Clearly annoyed. Typical man. Felix then basically is like, "Oh, that's bad form, though. That's cringe, frankly." He does actually, genuinely, in the script, say that what Oliver did with Venetia was really cringe because, of course, Farley told Felix what happened in the garden the night before between Oliver and Venetia. Oliver is quick, no pun intended, and he creates this whole story that Venetia came on to him and she was super drunk. He didn't want to embarrass her, so he kind of played along with it, but let her down gently because he values Felix's friendship and he doesn't want to do anything to ruin anything. This is where Felix tells Oliver about Eddie, an old friend of his who came to stay at Saltburn, who ended up like having a thing for Venetia and it ruined their friendship. So this, I think, is what they were referencing when everyone's talking about like, oh, like you're better than last year's one and all of that nonsense. But I will be honest, that's the last we hear about it. Oliver gets weird about this though, like the mention of another dude, another friend. He gets really weird, but he doesn't do anything about it. So back to the party planning committee. Farley, who's wearing a cute sweater, by the way, confronts Felix because his whole thing is he has to beg the family for everything, every dollar. Farley's mom gets nothing from the family, but they have all this money to spend on a fucking birthday party for Oliver, who's not even in the family. And Farley just thinks it's a little weird, and probably because he's the black one in the family, which Felix vehemently denies. But, I mean, it does look a little weird, doesn't it, Felix? So then that night, they have a dinner party with the Henrys. Everyone in the family is named Henry, apparently, and they're all super weird, but that's not the point. The point is they're doing karaoke, and Oliver and Farley are sitting on the couch, drunk, I'm assuming, and they're laying really close and being kind of flirty with each other, but like in a scary way. And Oliver is all like, why did you tell Felix about me and Venetia? Literally in that tone. Basically, it's like, we know, like, if you needed to talk, like, you'd talk to me. And making it this whole thing of, like, if you need anything, let me know. To get Farley on his side, maybe, so he can manipulate him. Farley then has the great idea to sing karaoke, make Oliver sing a song. The song is Rent by the Pet Shop Boys, I think. Basically, it's this whole song about somebody supporting you financially and taking care of your every whim. So having someone just pay for things, which is a really fitting song, but it embarrasses Oliver because Oliver doesn't know the song, but then he sings it with the right tune and everything, but he doesn't know the song. Everybody kind of shuts down. Felix and Venetia are like, ugh. Oliver then gets mad and he's like, well, Farley, come over here and finish it. It's your song too. Farley does, and he absolutely eats. He kind of eats. He kind of tore Oliver up, let's be honest. That night, after the party, Oliver appears in Farley's room, hovering on top of him, and he is threatening him in a way. Again, being all dominant, which is so weird to me. Like, that doesn't fit for me, but Oliver's a little weirdo. So he basically is like, are you going to behave? Farley's like, no. And they do this little back and forth. All the while, Oliver is threatening him. He's also pleasuring him. And Farley kind of seems to like it. The next morning, conveniently, Farley gets kicked out for, quote unquote, trying to nick something. Everything that happens in this house is a little bit hush hush because I think that's how the rich operate. Any sort of drama, anything that is ugly gets hidden away, which I forgot to mention. Elspeth makes it a whole point to say that she has a horrible fear of anything ugly, which makes sense. This is an ugly thing to happen, I guess. You're kicking somebody out. No one needs to know. So in an effort to make things seem normal as the kids are laying out by the water, kind of chit-chatting about what's going on, Elspeth and James come out And they basically are just like, oh, it's a hot one. It's a beautiful day, hot summer, normal conversation. To distract from the fact that Farley's not there. Elspeth then lays a bomb on us and just casually says that Pamela fucking died. We're losing the plot, girls. We are losing the plot. Pamela's dead. And that's kind of all that is said about it. They are going to London to go to the funeral. Elspeth, then being a great friend, says that Pamela would do anything for attention. Even this. Moving forward. It's Ollie's birthday. Happy birthday, Ollie. All that. It's Oliver's birthday. Felix wants to surprise him with a road trip, and Oliver is so excited because it's like his boyfriend's taking him out for the day. Little does he know that Felix has talked to Oliver's mom at one point when Oliver's mom called Oliver, and Oliver didn't answer. His phone was around, convenience. And Felix thought that Oliver's mom sounded sober. She sounded good, healthy. So he wants to take Oliver to go home to see his family. He doesn't tell Oliver until they start pulling up to Prescott, which is where Oliver's from. And then he starts to freak out. This is where we need to start strapping in again. This is about to all unravel. They go to Oliver's house. Oliver's mom answers the door, and she does seem sober. She seems normal. She seems good. Considering her husband passed away 2 months ago, she seems to be doing well.
You found this in the garden.
Wait. Huh? Okay, so Oliver lied. And he also lied about being an only child. He has sisters. He lied to his mom about being top of his class at Oxford, which Felix gets a kick out of.
The top scholar. God, he's so modest. I had no idea.
And basically, Oliver lied about fucking everything for years. For years. He lied to Felix. He lied to his parents. He's lied to everyone he's come into contact with for the past who knows how long. Because Oliver's a little fucking freak. Weirdo. Oh my god. Oh my god. So, one awkward ride back to Saltburn, which I don't know why the hell Felix let him come back. He does explain it. Because his family's going through enough right now. So the least he can do is have Oliver be a weirdo and ruin everything when his party's tomorrow. That night. His party's coming up. So they get into a fight. Their first real fight ever. And Felix calls him weird. Thank you, Felix. He says, let's keep it together. Let's have your party. But after that, you gotta get the fuck out of Saltburn. Tomorrow. You're done. You're done. Sorry. Canceled. Because what the fuck? You lied to me? Your best friend? What? What? For what? Oliver. Scrambling at this point. Desperate. Caught in a lie. His entire persona shattered. Says that he only lied because he wanted Felix to be his friend. Then, not getting the desired outcome he was looking for, he goes to cry in his room. As he should. It's his party. He'll cry if he wants to. So, this party is an absolute rage. Think Project X, but British. It's a costume party, I guess. I truly think it's a costume party because they had to do some art where Felix dresses up as an angel, Oliver dresses up as some thing with antlers that are horns that you have to assume is some sort of devil to be the opposite of the angel. Are you following? Because I'm following. That's so shallow. Oliver spends the whole night trying so hard to get back in Felix's good graces, to do something to save a morsel of the friendship that they have culminated for the past, what, 4 or 6 months? He just gets humiliated in the process. He runs up on Felix in the bathroom. Felix is like doing lines with a bunch of people. And Oliver's like, are you going to ignore me the whole night? Felix is like, yeah, basically. And everyone starts laughing at him. So that's hilarious. Oliver starts to get a little bit of his overdue, frankly, karma that he is so deserved when they are singing him happy birthday and no one at the party remembers his name. Still desperate and grasping at straws to save this friendship, he follows Felix, who's with a bird, a gal, a girl, into the hedge maze at Saltburn. And he watches them have sex for a minute. He just can't get enough, right? He gets caught and then belligerently is pleading with Felix to listen and to, what's the word I'm thinking of? Forgive him. He ends up saying that he just did what everybody else does for Felix. He put on a show. He just wasn't good enough. Felix is not having it, though, and he literally tells Oliver that he needs help. He says he does know Oliver, but he makes his blood run cold. So this, we can safely assume, is the end of Felix and Oliver once and for all. He's done. Hashtag Ollie is over party. And I think the person who's hurt most of all is not Felix. It's not Oliver. It's me. My Brokeback Mountain dreams have been shattered. Because what is this? I was holding on this entire movie. We're like, what, an hour and a half in? And nothing happened. Not even a kiss. Felix, at that point, breaks Oliver's poor little heart. Oliver then gets sick, shoving his liquor bottle into Felix's arms to go get sick. And Felix, needing to cope with this whole mess of a day, takes a big swig. I don't think I have the words nor the strength to tell you what happens next. The next morning, no one can find Felix. You don't need to be told, do you? You already know. You're just turning the handle on a jack-in-the-box, walking towards the end of the world, knowing that any second the ground is going to fall away. It is horrific, but like the unforgiving tide, we must go on. Now, the next few moments are interesting. They show us the differences in how people grieve. And it shows, I think, the true nature of the surviving residents of Saltburn. James, the poor thing, is in denial, trying to get Felix inside to warm up. He just needs to warm up. Elspeth, obsessed with Image, is only worried that it's almost time for lunch. Farley and Venetia are too wrapped up in sorrow to do much of anything. And Oliver just stands there. Lunch is weird, to say the least. The parents want to talk about how wonderful the party was, and Oliver's weird little app is droning on about how the cake was delicious. Duncan, the butler, he keeps coming in as this sort of loose comic relief. I don't know how I can manage a chuckle when the love of my life is dead. At this point, Farley is just saying what we're all thinking. Why the is Oliver still here? Go home. Farley then gets disowned, all thanks to Oliver, because Oliver basically turns that on Farley and says he would feel guilty too if he was doing lines the night somebody died. So Farley is now forever banned from Saltburn and cut off once and for all. Okay, let's move on. Let them grieve. Let's get out of here for a minute. Actually, we're going to cut to the funeral. Oliver just kind of lingers while the family grieves. This is another scene that is shocking. Oliver, alone with Felix for the last time, finally allows himself to show some sort of honesty, the most honesty that he's shown this entire film, and probably in years. He is overcome with grief on his hands and knees on the freshly dug grave of his best friend. And then he fixes the grave. This scene, dare I say, is impressive. There are no cuts. Oliver, whoever plays Oliver, I don't know how to say his name, Barry, went in there, he had one take. The grave like no tomorrow. And that was it. That's kind of heat. After this, Elspeth basically tells Oliver that he's not allowed to leave Saltburn because at this point, he's now the incarnation of her son. And so he's not allowed to leave. He's part of the family at this point. He's been through the trauma with them. Oliver doesn't contest too much. He had no plans of leaving anyways. Still on his stint, his tenure at Saltburn, Oliver runs into Venetia in the bathroom. He walks in on her. She's in the tub and she is absolutely hammered. She goes into this drunken spiel on how Oliver is pathetic because he only knew Felix for about 6 months, but he has the audacity to grieve, to show up at his funeral and cry. She says that she was feeling really sorry for him when she saw that, but then she just started to laugh because he doesn't know Felix. She calls him a moth, harmless, drawn to shiny things, batting against the window, desperate to get in. He made his holes in everything, eating the family from inside out. Then they kiss. But then she comes to, and then she shoves him away. She's sickened because he's wearing Felix's aftershave as well, which is just the last straw for her. Like, that's sick. That is sick. He just died. Oliver leaves her in the bathroom, and she kills herself in the tub. At this point, Oliver is still at motherfucking Saltburn, but he meets with James, Felix's dad. I know I haven't talked about him very much, who is pleading with Oliver to leave. They've been through so much already. They just need to be left alone. Like, James in this conversation is like, please get out of here. We've been through so much. We just need time as a family, and that means without you. Scram. He offers Oliver money, an undisclosed amount, but also to the point where he's like, name a price. He's like, name a price. I will pay you anything. Oliver is then seen leaving Saltburn shortly after. 5 minutes ago, Oliver was like, well, no, I have to stay for Elspeth. He was not going to leave, so something enticed him. How much money? We'll never know, but that's okay, because he leaves. He gets out of there for now. So then we cut to present day, and I only know that because this barista is wearing a mask. Oliver sees that Sir James has passed away. Conveniently, he manages to run into Elspeth at a coffee shop. Again, conveniently. And she apologizes for how he left Saltburn. And she comments on how he looks good. She won't say it, but she says that he looks grown up because he got to grow up and Felix did not. And still kind of, to me, she feels that he is the incarnation of Felix. He, at this point now, 15-ish years later, he is everything Felix was supposed to be, but he never got to be. So she invites him back to Saltburn because at this point she has no one left. She moved out of Saltburn. She has her own flat, but I think by inviting him to Saltburn, she's like, well, now I have a reason to go back. He, of course, bites. Now, this is the culmination of about 15 years of yearning for him. It is revealed to us that this entire time, Oliver is not in an interview. He's not talking to the camera or even us. Oliver is talking to Elspeth, laying out the details of his life from the past 15 or so years, all while she is on her deathbed in front of him. It is then revealed that the entire plot of the movie, everything that has happened in Saltburn, has been at the hands of him. Nothing was an accident. From the flat tire on Felix's bike in the beginning, to having no money at the bar, to kicking Farley out, even down to the cafe where he meets Elspeth again in present day. He was just typing fucking gibberish on his computer until she noticed him. Also, he fucking killed Felix. Forgot to mention. Whatever bottle he shoved into him, he put something in it that would kill him, and then threw the bottle in the lake, killed Venetia. How I said she, he staged it. Even now, hovering over Elspeth as she is on her deathbed, after getting her to sign over rights to Saltburn if something were to ever so conveniently happen to her, he rips out her fucking ventilator and leaves her to die. Oliver is now the sole owner of Saltburn. He dances through the halls of Saltburn, butt ass naked. This movie's got full frontal in it. One thing about me, I love me some full frontal, baby. All I'm saying is, if a movie is ballsy enough to have full frontal, that Jennifer Lawrence movie, terrible movie, but it had full frontal in it. And she looks good. She looks real good. Everybody was talking about this one. Everybody was like, oh my God, he's so big. He has this box set up that he first noticed when he first came to Saltburn 15-ish years before. And in this shadow box almost is 4 characters, each one representing the family. And he stares at this box and they do a little dance. All the while their death stones are sitting perfectly on top. And that is Saltburn. Listen, y'all, I'm tired. I'm going to try to be as cohesive as possible. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. I think my big problem with this movie, this film, is the ending. Oliver turning out to be the villain the whole time feels, frankly, a bit undeserved, if that makes sense. My interpretation of the ending is, well, we needed, first of all, a scapegoat for everything. And we need just a nice way to wrap everything up. It was a slow burn. I do like, especially after watching this movie a couple of times, seeing the cracks begin to form in the facade of Oliver. And after seeing it the first time and going back and watching it and knowing what happens, it is really interesting to see those moments of, okay, he's spiraling. Okay, he's showing us, the audience, who he really is. But I think wrapping up this movie with a nice little bow of saying, oh, Oliver did the whole thing, everything, anything you can think of, he was behind it. How? Semantically, how? I personally have a problem with that, but I'm also hard to please. So do with that what you will. I think at the end of the day, movies like this movie has a lot of themes it wants to discuss and a lot of things it wants to touch on. I don't think the themes it was wanting to explore were touched on enough. This movie is a movie of desire, like I said in the beginning. It's a movie about greed, about wanting more than you have and doing what it takes to get there. Granted, nothing in this movie would have happened. Oliver had lived and would continue to live a comfortable life. He had enough. It turns out his family was normal, middle class family. The trauma, I don't know. I just know that he lied about a lot of his trauma. Again, he would have lived a very comfortable life. I don't necessarily get the motive behind why he did what he did, other than greed. But I think that's the point of the movie, is just a story about greed. This dude who doesn't have it all, but wants it all and will go to great lengths to get it. Now, I struggle saying this because this feels self-fulfilling. It feels selfish of me to say this. The movie touches on the relationship between two men. I'm not saying every movie needs to be gay, but it feels like queer baiting to me, which maybe isn't the right word, but it feels like I was led on between the relationship of Oliver and Felix. And, it was this vaguely homoerotic relationship between the two. Something was building and bubbling in the background, but nothing happens. And again, most likely is intentional, but it feels weird. And again, I'm being selfish. I know I am, because I wanted something more. Like I said in the beginning, I thought this was going to be some Brokeback Mountain honestly, and it wasn't. And I am genuinely a little butthurt about that. No pun intended. With all that being said, I think this movie wanted to touch on a lot of different themes. I think this movie wanted to start a lot of sentences that it couldn't quite finish. Whether that be intentional or not, I think this movie wanted to say something, but it kind of whispered it, if that makes sense. This is purely my critique of the movie. I think all in all, in general, the movie wrapped up. Good movie. good movie. Looks good. And I care about aesthetics. So this movie looks very good. But I think in terms of using this movie to make commentary on anything going on in society or anything that's deeper than greed is kind of a waste of time. This movie doesn't have much to say, but that's all right. That's okay. Not every movie needs to scream from the rooftops or have this huge purpose that's greater than itself. It is okay for films and TV shows and media to just exist as media, as entertainment. I think we as a society get used to everything being so profound and trying to find meaning that's bigger than what it is in anything, but especially art, especially media. You know, the things we consume, we want it to have more of a purpose. And when you watch something, especially something that is as thought-provoking as Saltburn, you want to find some meanings, you want to find some deeper themes that it explores, but it doesn't necessarily do that. But it also doesn't have the responsibility of doing that for us. And that's where we come in, the viewers. Everything we watch, everything we consume is all just our interpretation. And that's what this is. This is just my interpretation of the film. For the most part, I mostly just wanted to let you guys know what Saltburn was. Basically, this is just a glorified retelling. So there you have it. That is my official retelling of Saltburn 2023. I want to hear your thoughts on the movie. What did you think? Did it work for you? How did you like it? Am I crazy for thinking the way I am? Let me know down below. I do plan on taking a look at some other movies and maybe not doing a retelling per se, more of a deep dive into those movies. But this is just something that was in my brain for like a week and a half, and it was an itch I couldn't scratch. So I literally just had to tell you what Saltburn was. I don't know how to end this, but thanks for hanging. I will see you all very, very soon. And thanks for coming to Dev's Room.